go.
Hey, welcome to Amp Up Solar Talk, where we break down all things solar to help you own your own power. I'm Kelly with Signature Solar, and joining us today, once again, we've got James Showalter, founder and CEO of Signature Solar and EG4, here to bring us the new innovations from EG4, released late February. He'll be talking about the FlexBOSS 18, the EG4 100 amp hour Wallmount battery, and the EG4 BOSSBox. He'll talk about their features, benefits, and real-world applications. If you want to join in the conversation, be sure and drop your questions in the chat. James, welcome back to the show. Thanks for joining us today.
Great to see you again, Kelly.
Thank you. Now, let's start with the FlexBOSS 18. You guys recently, EG4, recently released the FlexBOSS 21 and the GridBOSS, and it's been doing really well on the market. People really like the simplicity of the installation.
Yeah.
They really like how it streamlines all the components that are on the wall. They really like how it is easy to expand from once they have installed it. So what does the FlexBOSS 18 bring to the market, and how does it add to the FlexBOSS lineup?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the general FlexBOSS lineup, which for us has been, a market success. We've been exceeding, where we were at with the original generation, although there still is a demand for the 200 amp integrated inverters. There are just so many other problems and expenses around an ESS system that the FlexBOSS system solves. So we try to go after money that you're going to spend at the wire store with that system. And so the FlexBOSS 21, it was kind of a game changer as becoming the most powerful 48 volt hybrid inverter on the market, 16 kilowatts AC when battery and solar are present. And of course on battery, it's 12 kilowatts continuous, but it has the 10-minute surge of over 14 kilowatts, which is also an industry leader for the 48 volt space for an American-based company. So, I think with the FlexBOSS 21, we were trying to go after larger homes, the largest denominator we could put in for a house, and the FlexBOSS 18 is, I think, more aligned with the medium and smaller off-grid solutions, for taking homes off-grid. So, I think there's really popular ESS, power packs in the market. So the number one solution's Tesla, and they're I think 11.4 on the AC side, and so the FlexBOSS 18 is a solution where we've got 13 kilowatts of AC, 10 kilowatts of AC when battery's present, 13 when PV's present, and of course can handle 18 kilowatts of solar, and of course our hybrid inverter solutions are at 600 volts. So that helps with the strings and everything. And it ties into the GridBOSS. We felt like we needed a smaller size multiple that was going to be close to 20% less expensive than the FlexBOSS 21. And again, one of the things we came out with the GridBOSS was that you could mix any of our inverters on the hybrid side, the 12 kPb, 18 kPb, FlexBOSS 21, and the FlexBOSS 18, and you can add those unevenly. So we also feel like there might be some people who want to add in the future, and the 18 may be right. So having two sizes is really important. We want to just let the customers tell us what size they want to see, and we thought it was a big value jump in terms of overall watts that we're delivering from the 12 kPv. And so that was really the push behind the new FlexBOSS 18, is giving enough choices to our customers and more aligning with some of the smaller industry standards on cost competitiveness. So if people wanted to start where some of the more mainstream battery solutions are and scale up in our installer business.
Okay, and so being able to mix and match, you can actually choose the right amount of power for what you need.
Mix and match is a value, and again, some people are just going to want to say, what's the smallest system I can put in? We also wanted it to be the right size for a single battery install. There's a lot of people that are buying the big inverter and only one battery, and then they realize their inverter's derated on power. So the FlexBOSS 18 is the most power that you can pull out of a wall mount battery.
Are there any ways that they are different as far as their integration into the GridBOSS?
No, I think just the breaker size, but other than that, it's going to be almost an identical unit, and obviously it's identical size and look, so you get it either way.
So if you still want lots of power, but don't want to put quite as much money into it, it will still do those small residential homes.
Yeah, you do your load calculation on your system. If it comes up to the right size, then use the 18 instead. And of course, it's so scalable, the ability to add more inverters without spending a lot of money is what the GridBOSS gives you. So it's something it's a kind of a power that you should have now that you're in this system. So
you're able to help more people get into solar this way, able to reach more needs.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of support for a two-size approach on our side. So
absolutely,
we've always taken the two-size approaches, the 18 and the 12, which we're continuing on, and then the FlexBOSS at this will be the same approach.
For sure. So let's talk about the EG4 100 amp hour wall mount battery.
Yes.
It looks a lot like the indoor wall mount battery. It's got the easy connections on the top that you can get to, but it's 100 amp hour capacity. So what inspired the design for this, and who is its use? Who's going to be using this?
Yeah, I mean, you've got smaller do-it-yourselfers and smaller telecom and just applications that don't need that much power that are tying into the 3 or the 6 kilowatt inverter. And so we just wanted a solution that would just reduce the entry price point. If people were looking at, well, instead of buying a server rack cabinet and a bunch of server rack batteries, I just need one battery. That's meant to integrate with the 6000 XP.
Okay. And I moved on a little bit before we got to some of the audience questions. So my bad. Let's go back to the FlexBOSS for just a minute. Mark Hovis wants to know, can the FlexBOSS GridBOSS smart ports be used for bidirectional EV charging, and can it be done with a standard level 2 EV SE?
So when we talk about bidirectional EV charging, it depends on the kind of bidirectional standard. So what I'd say is that the hardware is there for bidirectional AC. But I think that the conversation around the vehicle to grid is actually becoming bidirectional DC. So it's a good question. I think it's one of the future things that we're already at work at EG4. So right now, I mean, I own a Cybertruck myself. They dropped the price and it actually looked competitive with a gasoline truck. So I've got it set up. I'm putting in a GridBOSS system and a couple FlexBOSS 18s on my house. And I may go to 21 instead. I'll figure it out. But that project's coming in. And what we're trying to do actually is just have it where we can use the Cybertruck as like a backup generator and we can recruit power from it. But we're going to also look and see if we can kind of work with the charger that works directly on a Tesla equivalency. Of course, Tesla is the first, this year is the first year they're going to release bidirectional on their EVs. And since Tesla is such a majority of the space, it's really important to kind of make sure we've got their standard aligned. And of course, we're also working with some of the GM and Hyundai and other EVs. So it's coming. And I think anybody who's wanting to be a part of this future where they can make their own energy is going to want to end up driving on their own energy. And so we want to have that EV integration as EVs become more competitive in the United States.
Okay, and that's one of the things that EG4 is good at, is trying to be on the forefront of this solar technology.
Yeah, so I mean, our R&D shop is parked up with a bunch of different brands of EVs, and they get to go in and play with mine too. So that's we're going to learn a lot, and we have been learning a lot already in the R&D lab.
Sure. Okay, and Money Wandering wants to know, trying to understand the difference between the GridBOSS 18 and FlexBOSS 18.
GridBOSS 18, the grid. I'm sorry, there's no GridBOSS 18. It's just the GridBOSS. Right. It's the standard GridBOSS. And then the FlexBOSS 18 is the inverter solution that powers the house. You're picking the FlexBOSS 21 or the FlexBOSS 18 as the right power head for your house. That depends on the size of the system that you modeled out when you did your power analysis for your house. And so the FlexBOSS 18 would be for, like I say, the medium and small homes, and the 21 would be for larger homes. It just gives you an option to only buy exactly what you're looking for.
So the FlexBOSS 18 or the FlexBOSS 21 can either one of them can tie into the grid boss, and they
Yeah.
can intermix and tie into the grid boss together.
Right,
It's
but there's
just your
one grid boss.
interconnection into the grid.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So was there anything else that you wanted to state about the 100 amp hour wall mount battery?
Not really. It's just a format on the same batteries that we have that we've gotten the ULs for, and I think we'll have the UL 9540 on the XP series very quickly, and I think it'll be tied into that. So it's just an integration there, and I think also these remote systems of like an inverter and one battery. When people use EG4 inverters with EG4 batteries, they get complete monitoring and control of the battery, and also the ability for firmware update. So there's a lot of people that are buying our inverters and using with different batteries, and they don't have that on their system. So if you're trying to deploy a system you have complete control on, if you use EG4 on EG4, you're going to be a much better experience long term. And also, there's a UL concern if you're worried about insurance and just kind of not being in a default at fault position in the case of a fire loss.
Okay. Well, let's move on to this EG4 BOSSBox, this all-in-one ESS energy storage system. You've got 2 inverters that you can put on the side. You've got 3 Power Pro batteries. It's designed to be set outside to where it can, for your outdoor rated systems. I got to admit, I was pretty impressed when I saw this go together. It's pretty simple. The thing I liked about it was even though the box is buildable, once you've got the box built, all the holes are pre-installed. There's no finding where your studs are. There's no making sure things are level. Once they're there, you just mount your brackets and put them in. So talk to me a little bit about what is the driving force behind the design of the BOSSBox?
So I think at least 3 really core categories that we're trying to attack with the BOSSBox. So there are increasing levels of building codes for wall-mounted energy storage systems, and the BOSSBox is a way to kind of tell your inspector, hey, I took it off my house, quit bothering me about your codes or whatever. And this wasn't really possible with the original 200 amp version, because when you move a 200 amp inverter away from a meter, Kelly, it actually costs about $60 a foot for every foot you move it away from the meter. So when people try to then place their energy storage systems where they really want them, or where it might be better suited for code, etc., that's a 200 amp run to the inverter and a 200 amp run back from the inverter. The FlexBOSS system is a single 70 or 90 amp run, so it's somewhere in the 4 to 6 gauge wire size frame. So that is more like $5 to $6 a foot, and people can actually afford to do that. So
way cheaper.
When we moved to the FlexBOSS system, it was like, okay, now we can move the ESS system anywhere where the customer desires. Let's create a platform where they're kind of in place to do that. So the cabinet does that, and then it also it fits in a form factor outside. Some people just don't want the systems hanging on their house, but they don't want them inside. It's a form factor people are kind of used to in terms of a whole house generator. I think it's a little taller, but it's not as long. I think back when I was first playing with solar, like in 2008 or so, we would lose power for like 2 or 3 weeks at a time. And I always was wondering, gosh, I just wish there was such a thing. And it's maybe a little personal on my side. There's such a thing as a solar generator. And so I think we've gotten as close as possible to actually building one, where we're at now. And the other thing is, I think it gives us a platform to kind of pre-commission systems. And see if we can move into that space as well in terms of customers wanting that option. So if they don't really want to dive in and kind of educate on all the settings and details of how to kind of do DIY solar, it's daunting. So how do we kind of say we have a pre-commissioned generator, and then here's a generator transfer switch, which is kind of the format that electricians expect. And now we can drop the expected complexity of the system, and then we get somebody at the signature of the EG4 team to just kind of to commission the system. So it really kind of solves those 3 areas of some code compliance things, some problems where people want to place their batteries wherever they want to, and then also a potential platform to provide more of the soft cost removal of solar installation, trying to get an expert to commission on site. Let's just maybe potentially do that, with a complete solution coming out. Yes.
That sounds like a great idea. We've got a lot of questions coming in. Let's see what we can get to here. Adam DeLay wants to know, does the FlexBOSS 18 have the same surge capability as the FlexBOSS 21, and where it should be able to start a 5-ton AC without a soft start?
So good to see you again, Adam. I think we've been on his YouTube channel once. A great guy on this stuff. So it does start a 5-ton air conditioner. I think we may be within 5 amps or so, but I think it actually is the same inductor as the FlexBOSS 21. So when you see more of these videos coming out from EG4, we're going to have it with a 5-ton air conditioner with no modifications, running some loads and starting the air conditioner. So yes, we absolutely did on that one, because I think that's the #1 concern of people. If I invest in all this, am I still going to be sweating it out in a power outage?
Right. Okay. He also wants to know, in regards to the BOSSBox, what are the bump outs on the doors? When I saw the internal images, I couldn't see any vents or need for it.
Yeah, so we've got a space for a vent kit. I don't think that the standard system is going to have vents on there, but we'll have a vent kit that goes for super hot climates. So we just wanted to have it in the standard design. But when we did all the calculations, we didn't really need to vent them. With this low discharge rate that we have on the batteries. So just preemptive design. UL 9540 is expensive.
Right. So preparing ahead of time.
Yeah.
All right. He also wants to know, I'm assuming you can lock the BOSSBox.
Yeah.
So there is a lock on the
We do have a lock. I'm sure it's probably one of these things where it's like it'll help protect against honest people, but it's a good way to slow people down, and also make sure that children don't get into things easily.
Right. And are there any vents near the bottom to allow for airflow internally?
I think we kind of answered that question. So yes, these louvers on the bottom are vents, and
and then there's vents on the top as well.
We ran this in a heating chamber, and I think ran it over 120 Fahrenheit. So we really did take some precautions to understand what's needed here.
Okay. So what are the use cases that you envision for this? Like, I'm sure that they're unimaginable, but what are some of the things that you guys have thought of for this?
Mobile power. I think a lot of the mobile power guys just want a solution they can stick on there and go. And EG4's format of kind of just owning the whole integration and getting you the full UL approach on the ESS. Having something pre-commissioned, I think that'll be exciting. I think new home construction. I think you're going to see a lot of home builders that will consider, instead of having to teach their electricians how to do solar, they could probably horse trade them into placing these units outside the house and wiring them into a grid boss. That's a much easier training than let me teach you all about commissioning a solar system. Let's have our guys do that. So I think it's a good platform for that. And I think there's a lot of do-it-yourselfers and just project guys that ultimately don't have enough leverage at home to make the batteries go in the garage. They can't win that argument. So it'll help them put the system where it needs to go, and just save some family strife.
Absolutely. I can see that. All right. So D Skeptic says, what is the price of the 100 amp hour wall mount battery? It's not actually released yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's going to be within about, we've got the price point set up to where it's going to be within about $50 or so of the other one. I think that's going to be my target on there, and I think we're very close to hitting that. But again, you're right; it's not announced, so don't beat us up if it's more, but it could be less. It could be closer. So some of our pricing right now is subject to just our own reshoring effort and manufacturing facility just outside of Dallas and the success there. So I think we've got some opportunities to cut costs there.
So let's talk about that a little bit. The solar industry is changing all the time.
Yeah.
And where do you see that it's going in the next 5 years?
Yeah.
And how is EG4 preparing for those changes?
Well, I think that there's what the industry is doing, and then there's what people want the industry to do.
Okay.
Right. And I think ultimately the industry is going to have to kind of listen to the people who haven't bought from them yet. Right. Okay. I think industry is getting to a stage where the people who buy solar in the next 5 years are people who already were probably, I'm just going to use the term, smart enough to say no to the person who knocked on their door. Right.
Right.
It's people who are substance focused. They're skeptical of return, and what they want is a universal competitor with the power companies. So I think the equation the industry has to get to is solar plus storage installed and financed for less than the cost of energy from the grid, or solar plus storage installed cash for under a 7-year payback. So one of those two things are kind of the way that people want the industry to go. There's some higher value contracts and like subsidy hotspots where I think some of the industry is chasing after. EG4 is just focused on bringing the technology, frankly, to that point where it is a universal good option for people. And I think that that intersects also with just changing geopolitical landscape. We're having, even the last month and a half, right? We've been dealing with some changes in trade policy, which we're adjusting to, and then also some incentivization for American manufacturing. So I think EG4 will continue the exact mission that we started when I started working on the hardware for the company, because I didn't think enough hardware companies were really focused on that outcome. I think they were just focused more on just like milking a high-end customer or a customer that maybe was poorly educated. So we're going to keep attacking our main goal, and we're going to do it in a way that aligns with the changing geopolitical environment.
Right. We appreciate that EG4 is always trying to stay on the forefront of the technology, and it's always inspiring to see how you're trying to do that, but keep costs down as low as possible.
Innovation is value innovation right now. I mean, one day when it's half the price of the grid, people are going to want kind of a strategy to shift from essentially a Microsoft strategy to an Apple strategy. But right now we're at the stage of this technology where it's kind of like back in the day, they needed to make computers so cost effective that we had a computer on every desk. And then people eventually said, yeah, but I want an Apple computer on my desk or whatever. And then they did the higher end solutions, but we're not there yet. Basically, solar is not a universal good idea yet. And it really needs to become that. I think we can get it there.
Well, appreciate you being here today and sharing the innovations that EG4 is sharing in the market with all of us. So
do you have any more questions, Kelly?
That's it. Anything else you'd like to share?
Well, I think we'll keep up with everybody as the year develops. We're really excited about the GridBOSS impact, and we're focusing on just making sure that the value prop of the FlexBOSS and GridBOSS systems are staying there. I know we were able to avoid impact from the global trade situation on the FlexBOSS inverters and the 12,000 XP. We'll keep working on the GridBOSS. And ultimately, I think we'll also have some exciting new products that we're already working on this year for next generation or upgrades on the current battery solution. So we're going to have a lot to tell everybody about this year, and we love these audience questions. Do we have any more audience questions?
Well, we do have one here from Rodney Hunt. Do you see the market going to high voltage systems more in the future instead of 48 volt?
It's honestly, I actually have a bunch of whiteboards on this, Rodney, and great YouTube channel, by the way. I've got whiteboards on this where it's like a high voltage system has an increase in cost on the battery, and it is a decrease in cost on the inverter and an overall increase in efficiency. So unfortunately, in the past, the increase in battery costs has been so high, it doesn't justify, it's not justified by the other two factors. I think there's also a question about domestic content localization. What cells are going to be made in the US? I think the American cell production is going to focus on the bigger cells. It's going to be hard to make a high voltage battery that isn't over 300 pounds. So, we'll probably look at that option. We are looking at that option, and we are modeling out some solutions for this. I think the thing to catch there is not as much value. It's kind of give one, lose the other, but it's efficiency. So if the round trip efficiency can go up 2 or 3%, it's a way to increase the value of solar 2 or 3%. We like the idea. We're not going to jump there too fast, I don't think, but if circumstances change, we might.
Okay, here is one more. This is from Raul. Are the price increases on EG4 products due to recent increase in tariffs, or was it due to business strategy? Should we expect an increase in cost for all signature products across the board?
Yeah, so I think people, we'll see some reaction. I mean, in terms of, I don't want to speak for other vendors. Obviously EG4 is aware of the landscape, and Signature grabs vendors that are complementary to the EG4 line, and so you guys carry that for differing reasons. What I can say is that everyone's cost has actually gone up at least that much. And of course, there's actually a classification on some of the cost changes where I think some of our accessories, we're working on that. But there was a little bit of a fight as to what goes where. So, we're being really open on this. Some people would not take that strategy, but they were consequential to the fact that actually months ago we started, when these tariff increases are announced, we start paying that week. Right, we have stuff coming in from ordered months past, and by the way, that stuff was ordered assuming it was one tariff, and when it actually arrives, we pay a higher tariff. So it's an instantaneous change we've been absorbing. And one of the things I said on the Facebook group actually was that we would push out inventory ahead of this. So we got to a point where we really had kind of turned the tide, and it was new inventory. We've been eating enough tariff costs. I think everyone's eating that stuff. EG4 is a high volume product, so you might have some other vendors that may not be moving their inventory as quick. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously, we saved the 3 number 1 inverter SKUs because of our reshoring efforts. So we were able to keep that even. And I'm going to look at reshoring. I'll say that there are reshoring efforts already in place for frankly, batteries and everything else. So we'll work on that. And if we can make some more progress, we'll be announcing it. So I mean, call it a strategy. I mean, it's kind of a strategy in business to pay your costs. But ultimately, my overall strategy is to reduce costs. So I think we'll get to, because we still have to get to a mainstream level on pricing. So I think we'll actually get to where we want to be on cost by the end of the year. There's just a slight change. And, you know, I would just also say, when you look at the payback on these systems, even with the accessories, which were really minority share of the cost of the systems, when you look at the payback, it's still, people are getting on just buying the parts, it's about 4 years payback or less. It's a great payback. And energy is the one cost that is really, it's 100% inflation, and it's 100% interest, right? And then that's what we're always trying to go after. So I think we're gonna have a wonderful year in terms of value.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes.
Absolutely.
Hey, we are actually out of time for today. James, thanks so much for being here and sharing your insights. I know that was really helpful for me and for our audience. And to our audience, thanks so much for joining in and being part of the conversation. It's always really helpful when you guys share your questions. If you are interested in any of the new EG4 products, be sure and check them out on our website. We do have the FlexBOSS 18 and the EG4 BOSSBox. The 100 amp hour battery will be coming soon. So we'll see you right here next time on Amp Up Solar Talk.
Thank you, guys.